Howdy, I'm Dr. Cameron Murphy, Vice President of Operations and Product Development here at CrampAid, the Potassium Company, where everything we do is based on our proprietary high potassium formulations that get potassium effectively, quickly, and affordably into your tissues where it's needed. With the average American getting just about half their daily potassium needs, CrampAid is critically important for overall health and function, as every organ system in the body is relying on potassium to function its best. Today we're going to talk more specifically in an emerging area on how potassium can improve learning, memory, and cognitive function in the brain. So a large study of 4,000 individuals found taking a cognitive memory test found that the more sodium that is in the diet, the worse the test score. On the other hand, the more potassium that's in the diet, the higher the test score. So when we put these two things together, we're going to get the sodium-potassium ratio, which ideally you want to have it be under 1 and really under 0.5. And in nature, it's frequently 10 parts potassium for every 1 part sodium, so it's actually 0.1. It's very, very low. So you can see, as this increases, there was no data below 2 for this cohort of individuals. It really shows how we consume much more sodium on the average than we do potassium. The test scores go down significantly. But what's really interesting is this can be reversed simply by they remove 1,000 milligrams of sodium per day and replace that sodium with 1,000 milligrams of potassium, and their scores in the same person went up an average of over a point when taking into account lots of other factors, other nutrition factors, sleep, other potential problems they might have, which equates to about a 10% increase in the overall memory score. So that's a huge increase simply by getting the electrolyte ratio more properly balanced. So how does this work? Essentially, potassium is going to increase the ability of the brain to modulate blood flow. And so in a high salt diet, the brain loses the ability to effectively modulate blood flow and increase blood flow to parts of the brain where it's really needed. The good news is that this lack of blood flow modulation, and even when someone has a high salt diet, can be reversed simply by getting the electrolyte ratio more properly balanced. And so the way this works is that it simply loses the ability to have the blood vessels dilate. Learning and memory in normal individuals, and then, so is there anything with, say, Alzheimer's disease? Well, in an Alzheimer's model mouse, again, very preliminary, nothing ever done with humans, what they find is that by putting 2% of potassium in the animal's water, they were able to just about get these Alzheimer's animal models to control when it comes to learning, memory, long-term potentiation. And what they found was that the overall inflammatory state was really reduced by giving the animals simply more potassium. So to get that electrolyte ratio corrected, if you are following a low sodium diet, which is typical for people with high blood pressure or salt-sensitive hypertension, 1 serving of CrampAid per day combined with the average American diet as far as potassium content gets you to where you need to be. If your sodium is restricted to where you're no more than 2,300 milligrams, which is the most that the FDA would recommend, then having 2 servings of our 2,000 milligrams of potassium each gets you to where you need to be and balance that electrolyte ratio. But like most Americans, we like our salt, and so we consume an average of 3,500 milligrams per day. If you're consuming 3,500 milligrams per day combined with the average amount of potassium that Americans have, then you need 3 servings of CrampAid per day to get the electrolyte balance you need. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner, just have that serving of CrampAid and see your overall cognitive performance, learning, memory, focus, all improve with a simple change that without really drastic lifestyle changes. Just have your CrampAid every day, get your electrolytes balanced, and see improvement.